I would think anyone watching this right now, there's probably people watching this in a corporate job right now, wondering how to branch out into things that they really want to do. And then the sad thing is there's thousands or millions of people out there that their entire life will want to do what you did, and they'll never have the bravery and the courage to do that. They won't be able to figure out a plan, or the fear of losing that regular paycheck will stick with them. So how did you manage that in breaking free of that one life path to going something that is, I mean, it's entirely different. It's one is creative and fun, and there's no clear set career path. Certainly not any clear source of income in the beginning, compared to the track that you're on. Like a law track is about as prescribed as you can be. You know, you take the school, then join a firm as a junior person, and then article, and work your way up, and eventually get on to the partnership. But how did you find breaking free to that? How did that happen?
You know, it really, when I got to the point where I was so, I don't want to say broken, but the life I was living was more painful than the fear of making a change. And once I got to that point and realized what I had to do, everything else, I didn't worry about. I mean, that's not to say that I didn't have anxiety about where I was going to get, money to pay for tomorrow's food or anything. It just means that I had faith in myself. I just trusted the process and thought that, no matter what, someday we're all going to die. And I do not want to be on my deathbed going, well, I was comfortable but unhappy.
Right.
So I would much rather be lying on my deathbed going, man, I fucking went for it.
Right.
Like, good on you. Good job.
Congrats. Yeah, that was the exact same feeling when I first started stand up. And I was still working at the life insurance company, but knew that I didn't want to be there. And that was the feeling that I was starting to have, was either I need to do this and at least make the attempt and get into it and see how I feel about it, or it's going to bug me for the rest of my life. And same thing. I was like, I don't want to be one of those people who's on their deathbed regretting their entire life, and more so regretting the things that they don't do versus the things that they did do.
Yeah, totally. And that's not to say that, there's tons of people out there who are actually, life really works for them and they're perfectly happy doing the corporate thing, and they have something else creative that they do as a hobby.
Right.
And that works for them. I just knew for me, that was not going to be enough for me. That this artistic calling was really the driving force of my life. And if I didn't pay attention to it, I was going to be miserable. And I couldn't do it anymore.
Assault and flattery was not enough. You needed to do it full time. We got a note here from, looks like a friend of yours. Jackie Pritchard says, I am so happy that you followed your heart. I still have my postcard you sent after the move to LA.
Jackie, so great you joined us.
How do you know Jackie?
Jackie was my drama teacher my senior year in high school. Yeah, she directed our one act play.
Amazing. Yeah, that's huge. Like, people like that. Nice to meet you, Jackie, and thank you on behalf of Aaron and the world for unleashing a creative. Like those drama teachers, whether it's like kids stuff or high school or university, planting those seeds of creativity and just planting the love for the craft and for the art into people. That's huge, and I'm sure that's really rewarding to see people. It's probably a small percentage of people that go on to do it professionally, but those people who do, I'm sure, make it all worthwhile. So look at this, Jackie. You raised her right in those. And here she is on a podcast talking about all of her showbiz endeavors. All right. I want to move on and shift a little bit. So you did, you were in LA. You were a little jaded, or just not finding what you wanted in LA? What prompted, essentially you left LA and then enrolled in an acting conservatory, which is how we met through Todoroff Conservatory.
Yeah.
But how did that transition happen, and why did that happen?
Yeah, so I don't know, life kind of happens in cycles, and I'd been in LA for a while, and have a ton of friends, colleagues, connections, and amazing projects that I was a part of out there. But s- similar to like if I was doing law and then had to step back to get into acting, when I was a senior in high school, Jackie, I don't know if you know this, I was contemplating where I was going to go to college and what I wanted to do. And I really wanted to major in acting, like Juilliard was my dream, which is in New York. And I hid like Juilliard pamphlets under my mattress. I I would take them out at night before bed and look at them, and I just told myself that I couldn't have that. I didn't have enough uh, tangible role models to aspire
Right.
to
Right.
get me
Yeah.
there.
Didn't seem real in
It
people
felt like
around
a
you
dream
to
for
do.
somebody
Right.
else.
Right.
Yeah. So I say that because after LA, as I'd been in LA for 7 or 8 years, I started reevaluating my life again. Okay, what's satisfying me here? What else is left unfulfilled in my life? And I went back to, well, the Juilliard thing, the studying in New York. And I had met Tom Todoroff at one of his workshops in Houston, literally months before I moved to Los Angeles, and just fell in love with his style of teaching. I was just enthralled with his process and had this massive desire to work for him. But I went to LA, did the thing. Anyway, Tom pops up in my head. I jumped online. I was like, what's going on with his conservatory? And I saw that applications were open for the fall term starting, that they, because of the pandemic, had moved to an online format, which meant I didn't have to pack my bags and get to New York right away. And I thought, what the hell? I need to go for this. Like, this is another thing. If I'm on my death, like, even if I don't get in, this is something I need to do.
Right.
So I went for it, and what do you know? I got accepted. And then the rest just kind of rolled me on
Right.
through up to New York this past spring. Yeah.
Yeah, we were for everyone watching, Aaron and I were in the same ensemble with what was there, 22 of us?
22, yeah.
22 of us. And it was really, I mean, it was incredible, transformative experience. But one of the cool things is we were, as a result of COVID, they did two things. One is they moved to this hybrid model where you didn't necessarily have to move to New York, which means on top of the tuition expenses, you need to find living arrangements, and you have to have money for the New York lifestyle, which is challenging for people. But the other thing they did is they went from, it was a 2-year program, which for a lot of people, that for me, similar. I had attended several of his workshops here in Toronto and knew about the conservatory, but already being in the business and already actively working and auditioning and having an agent, it felt like, okay, I'm not going to press pause on my life and my career for 2 full years. It seemed like too much of a commitment to do that. But they condensed everything and jammed those 2 years into 8 months, and it was hybrid. So yeah, it was just like the perfect
Yeah,
conditions
the stars
to
aligned.
really
It was
jump
just,
into it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
just right.
Not to mention that it was also COVID. So as a result of COVID, there was less in person and less of the usual things that we were doing with our time. So it was just like the opportunity was there where I had more time in my schedule as well
Yeah.
too. So yeah, now we're all graduates in E10, EX, as we say. And
Woo.